I think we all know that micromanaging is not the right way to lead. Micromanaging is basically telling the people that's on your team that you don't trust them. That you don't trust them.
Hey guys, Peter Burchfield here. You're watching Prepare to Go There.
Hey friends, Peter Burchfield here, Leadership Preparedness Coach, and we've been talking about leadership preparedness, what it is, why it's important, and simply put, you need to be preparing your leadership for the future. And that's kind of a two-sided coin. On one side, it's you are the leader, you need to be skilling up for the future. But it's also your leadership capacity for the team that you're leading, the community, the company, the movement that you are inspired to invest your time and energy into. And so the question is, like, what does that look like practically or even relationally? How do we invest in our own leadership preparedness? And then how would we actually start developing other leaders that are going to be better prepared and more fully present to take on the future of what you do? And so I just want to hit this really simple idea. It's almost so simple that at first I would be like, I don't want to say that. But I think it will actually give some language for leaders that have been wondering, how do I actually empower other people? I think we all know that micromanaging is not the right way to lead. Micromanaging is basically telling the people that's on your team that you don't trust them. And no team can thrive without that trust. Trust, if I could say it this way, trust is the thrust that helps your team go past the obstacles and break those barriers and, to push beyond where you are right now. You have to trust them, they have to trust you. It's, a two-way street, but when you are micromanaging, you are taking all of the trust out of the room. You're saying, I don't trust you to do this without my constant supervision, without my constant involvement, management. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have experienced the negative effects of micromanagement. And I have experienced micromanagement. I think like everybody else, I think I've been a micromanager at times. It can happen to all of us. So I was thinking, what is the opposite of micromanager? And simply put, it's macro mentor. Like, if being a micro manager is so negative and potentially toxic to the trust in your team, then the opposite is macro mentoring. In other words, we're not going to get so triggered by the little things, but we're going to stay focused on the big things. And we're going to develop the communication lines and the working style that empowers people, that invests in people, and that realizes that they are not going to be on the team forever. I think a micromanager is focused on the results, right? Makes sense. We want the results to be right. But a macro mentor is really focused on the relationship, focused on that person, and realizing that there's no good scenario where this person stays in this team, stays on that role, infinitely. That's not even the win. The goal is not to keep the existing team in their current spots as long as possible. I mean, I can't even imagine being on an airplane, for an infinite amount of time. Even if there's all the food and, access to restrooms and even the cool chairs where you're leaning back and you can sleep and stuff. Even if I'm cruising in some kind of first class bougie part of the plane, I still would not want to just stay on that plane forever. It's meant to take you from one place to another, definitely. And I'm grateful for that ride. I'm grateful for that opportunity to be on that plane. But ultimately, I'm going to get onboarded and I'm going to get off, and, I'm going to continue. And we as leaders, for leadership preparedness, if we're really thinking about what is the leadership capacity of this team going to look like, beyond the life cycle of just one team, it's going to happen when you shift your mindset from being a micro manager to a macro mentor. And so the value is not just what can I get out of this person in the short term, but it's what can I give to this person for the long term. And regardless whether that person stays in the team or not, you have been making valuable investments in that relationship. And you have no idea how a healthy, future-focused relationship, even partnership in the work that you do, will serve you in the future. I haven't gotten this right all the time. There's been plenty of times where I've probably been a micromanager. There's been other times where I was probably just abdicating and calling it delegation. But, going on my own journey and just working with so many amazing people, I have gratitude for the patience that they gave me, for the trust that they put in me, for the support, that they gave me during those seasons. And it really showed me, the value of self-leadership, the importance of servant leadership, and gave me a vision of, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if we could somehow continue to partner and network with leaders on another level. And so you want to begin to see yourself as a guide for these emerging world-class leaders. When you're working with the people on your team, you don't just see them as the means to a short-term goal, but you see them as the value. You see them for the value of that working relationship over the long term. It's possible that they will grow with you as the team or the organization grows. They will actually step into new parts of the organization, that they'll actually level up with you. And that's amazing if you get that opportunity, because they have all of that shared experience. They have the DNA of the organization, and they now become these brand ambassadors, so to speak, with you on the team. But even if that does not happen, having a positive working relationship with them gives you so much opportunity in the future. And I think there's a lot of value in sending our best into the future. When we do that, it's going to raise the bar for the entire network or the entire industry or the entire space that we're all working on together. And you just cannot begin to imagine how fun it will be in the future when you've kind of been investing in all of these other people, and now they're blowing up, they're doing bigger things, better things than you could ever imagine, but they have this, hopefully, this appreciation for the time they were with you, working and learning and kind of getting their apprenticeship in, so to speak. And so a macro mentor is willing to go on that long game journey. A macro mentor is not just going to talk about the projects. They're going to talk about the philosophy. They're going to talk about the process. A macro mentor is not just going to talk about the work. They're going to talk about the business, and even beyond that, they're going to talk about the horizon. They're going to talk about what's important, what's possible. I really encourage you to practice macro mentoring, because even if you invest your best into a few folks and it fizzles out and it doesn't go the way you thought, it proves that you're not fragile. It proves that what you have is worth sharing, and you're going to have to get good at coaching. You're going to have to get really good at pouring what you have learned into other people. Not to say that you have everything, but what you do have is valuable enough to share. And if you're just learning how to develop great leaders, you're already ahead, of that generational curve when it is time to be looking for next generation leaders. For every leadership team, you have to be working on macro mentoring. Sure, if we're honest, we'll probably have these times in the training phase or the onboarding phase where the style of leadership is going to be very objective and kind of hands-on, and you're just really trying to focus on the results. But I would just call that training or onboarding. If you have to do that for the entirety of that team experience, then we got to talk about another side of the leadership game, because that's not good for the leaders that are supervising and supporting that, and it's not good for the team to work in those conditions. So because you really care about the people and you really care about the long game for your organization, you got to be willing to have a different style. And so if you're interested in learning what's the difference between micromanaging and macro mentoring, let me know, and we'll kind of do the T chart, so to speak, and we'll kind of lay it out so you can see it a little more clearly. But I wanted to start this conversation and really challenge you. Think about the way you interact with your team. What kind of conversations are you having? What kind of strategy are you employing when it comes to developing the leaders on your team, and just really skilling up in your ability to prepare more leaders for the future. All right, remember, you're going places, so prepare to go there.